Hello and welcome. This is the Nickolas Natali show. I am your host, Nicholas Natali. We have the most special guest today, Nichelle Quiocson. Season's greetings, Nichelle.
Hello, you said my last name right. I'm actually very proud of you for that.
I was on the edge of my seat. I wanted to be sure I nailed that one.
Oh man, that's actually how I kind of came up with I guess like my Instagram name and everything is cuz everybody they would pronounce it wrong. So I have my little way of telling people how to pronounce it.
Yeah, I think that's really clever because when I first saw your Instagram name when we first met, I was like, What does she mean by this?" But then when I learned your last name, I was like, "Oh, I get it. I get what's going on here.
Yep. Yep.
It all makes
Exactly.
sense." All right, I think I know where I want to start with this. You've had an interesting journey these past few years, for sure,
Oh yeah. Yep.
and I want to start out with okay. You dropped out of college to pursue music, but I want to
mhm.
know your like what your experience was like in college and your thought process of I'm getting out of here.
Oh man. So the reality is that I never actually wanted to go to college. Um I just kind of went just because, in high school, I feel like a lot of the teachers, counselors, college is like the logical next step. And
Yeah,
so in high school, I was like that nerdy kid, took like AP classes, all of that. And so when the topic of college, was brought up, I was like, well, I don't know what to do. I like
right.
music, like this is what I want to do, but parents and like everybody, they didn't see that as like a career path. So I was like, well, I guess if I'm going to go to college, I'm going to major in something that makes money. So I ended up majoring in physics.
Oh
And
man.
honestly, yeah. Yeah. that was interesting.
That
But
sounds
like
so hard already, right, right off the
it
bat.
I mean, I in high school and like in college I was a very nerdy kid. So like math and science, like those were actually pretty easy subjects for me. And so like when I went to college for physics, like the probably the first year was super easy in terms of like learning. I think the biggest adjustment for me was not living at home, and just learning how to deal with that. But in terms of like academics, I actually liked the idea of like studying with friends and being like in a group setting, helping each other out.
Yeah,
But after I think, or during my second year, was when I kind of realized, like, okay, I'm wasting money. I'm running out of scholarship money. I'm
yeah,
gonna go into more debt. Like, I don't want to go into more debt for a degree that I'm not even gonna use. And so that's when I kind of made the decision, like, I'm gonna actually drop out and pursue music.
mm. Which
Yeah.
sounds yeah, that seems like the logical next step.
Yep.
So you pursued it for 6 months, and
Yep.
then you hit a wall,
Mm-hmm.
and So oh man. So I watched the video where you talked about failures and learning from failures, and you mentioned that dropping out of college, you saw it as like a regret, kind of. At least in the video.
Yeah.
Do you still feel that way now?
I mean, I think I th- when I first dropped out, kind of regretted it because of the fact that I dropped out to pursue music. I realized that I probably shouldn't be doing music. So I think that's when I started to regret it. And I think around that time was debating whether or not I want to go back to school
Yeah.
and to go into nursing. Cause like I'm Filipino, everybody in my family is a nurse or, something related to the medical field. And
Right.
so around that time is when I started regretting it because
Mm,
the thing that I dropped out for, it just wasn't working out.
yeah.
And that was really scary.
What wall did you hit? Like it seemed like it was like a wham. Like you got so far and then wham, it just hit you. What was
I
it? Like
mean, I can't pinpoint exactly, and I think this is probably one of the hardest things for creators to kind of, I guess, realize is like there are things that you're not going to be good at. And I think like just throughout that process of cuz So long story short, I wanted to do like music production and like be a singer songwriter, stuff like that. And in the music industry, at least like at that time, if you didn't know how to like belt or do all of these crazy riffs and runs,
Mm-hmm.
like you wouldn't really get too far. And like I'm not the best singer. I'll just put that out there right
Self-awareness
now.
101 right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. And so that really was it though, was just becoming self-aware and realizing like, okay, if this is what people are looking for, like I'm gonna be honest, like I'm not at that point as like a singer, as a songwriter. And so
Mm-hmm.
like I think that's kind of what built up over the first 6 months of me dropping out, was kind of realizing like, yeah, this isn't this isn't gonna work out, at least not with music.
Right, right. And then, so, so, so is this, what year was this? Because it was it right when you started like finding your like your ability to edit and create and like film, photography, Photoshop? Like, is that where it trickled into? Because like you
Mm,
obviously had a passion to create. Like music is for
yeah.
sure an expression. And then like, was this the next form of it?
Well, so I was editing videos and photos in high school too.
Oh, okay.
But music was just kind of the forefront of it all. So like I know everybody has those stories of like their first video that they edited was some sort of parody rap video. That was also my story. One of like the first
Oh,
like one of my, I think to this day it's still probably my favorite video because it's so bad, but like in a good way.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
was it was a parody rap video for my calculus class. Um
Oh man.
we were rapping to Thrift Shop by Macklemore.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Your own lyrics or the actual
No,
lyrics
like I wrote out
about
lyrics.
calculus?
Yeah, about calculus.
Oh gosh.
But yeah, so I've been editing videos and photos since high school too, just like English projects. But music
Yeah.
was always at the forefront. So then when I realized like okay, music wasn't my way into the entertainment industry, I guess, I was fortunate enough to have that to fall back on. I just never thought of it as being something that I would pursue as a career, which I mean, it's crazy that now this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah. And okay. So then, actually, you know what? I'm going to say this. One time, so I had a Spanish teacher that would let us make videos for projects too, like very similar to that.
Yeah.
And one time, we were supposed to have 3 people in our group, right?
Mm-hmm.
Me, my best friend, and then one of my other best friends who spoke Spanish. So we obviously expected him to carry the team here, you know? And so the time came to film, and I guess my best friend was like in another period or something, like he didn't have to be in this project. And the guy that spoke Spanish didn't show up. And it
Oh.
was like due that day. And we were like, bro, so we printed out a picture of his face
Oh my
and
god.
then used scotch tape to wrap it around my friend's head
Oh
and just
my
had this
god.
scary pixelated face like walking into the shots and like saying terrible Spanish. And we got an A, and my friend that didn't show up got an A. I have
What?
no idea how that snuck past everybody with such terrible
Oh my god.
terrible
That is the
pixelated faces.
greatest thing ever though. Like seriously though, how did he also get an A?
That's why I don't understand. Like, I wonder if teacher was just like going through the final grades and was like, "Yep, it's here, A," because I was like, "No way he's gonna believe this," you know?
Oh man, that is comedy. I feel like in high school I was always the person that people went to help film their English projects because I was the only person with a camera at the time.
Oh
Yeah. And
man,
so
great
like
experience.
yeah, and so everybody would come to me and just be like, "Yo, we need to film our English project." Like I would hold the lines by the camera and they would just read off of it. It was so bad.
Oh, if it's a Spanish project, you better believe there's like a
Yeah.
cue card right behind the camera.
Oh
Not a
man.
chance I'm memorizing a
I know.
Spanish script. But yeah,
Damn.
that's so true. I guess high school films, high school videos really shaped our style and
Yeah.
creation.
It's always those parody rap videos. I feel like
Oh
that's
yeah.
like if you haven't made a parody rap video at some point in your life, like you're doing it wrong.
Oh
At
yeah.
least once.
Yeah. Don't call yourself a creator
Yeah.
if you haven't made one of those.
Yeah.
Especially like in that realm of like 2010, like those few years when parodies were
Mhm.
popular, like every Miley Cyrus song that came out got a parody. It's like
That oh
they were
my god.
asking for it.
Yeah. And what's crazy is that like that's kind of how kids are now with TikTok is that they're making
Mhm.
parodies of it's literally parody rap videos or like parody music videos just
Yeah.
on TikTok instead
Yeah.
of on YouTube and with a
Now
camera. Like
now
they're
it's
just
like
using the
almost
phone.
parody vines. They're just redoing vines.
That's true.
How do you
um
feel about that? Do you think
about
it's
parody or like
ab- about TikTok remaking vines? Do you think it's too
oh
close
man.
to just completely clout chasing, or do you think it's fair game?
I think it's fair game.
Ooh.
I'm an advocate for TikTok.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love the platform. A lot of people would hate it in the beginning, but like now everybody has one. Um,
True.
TikTok really reminds me of like YouTube in the early days when people were just making videos just to have fun.
Yeah.
Um, I can see how now some people are like purposefully trying to make videos with the intention of it going viral, but like 6 months ago or like at the beginning of last year, 2019, like
Mhm.
people were just making videos just to have fun.
Oh yeah.
Um, but it reminds me a lot of YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah. The early stages. And it's so interesting cuz I wonder if like TikTok is kind of setting the precedent that this is going to be a repeated process of like TikTok will have its like era, another social media platform will come out, more creators, and then all like those creators that grow diversify themselves onto other platforms, sustain themselves, then a new social media platform arises. Like it almost seems like it's cyclical.
Yeah, I mean, do you remember there were so many other social media apps that came out like probably around the same time as Vine? Like, do you remember? I
Mhm.
think it was called Path.
Oh, no. What was Path?
I think Path was like Instagram, but specifically for travel. So like you would take pictures of like whatever location you're at and post it. And I think I made a Path account,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you
but
got to.
yeah, that quickly died. And like, what was that other app that I think like it lasted for like 2 days? Vero, I think it was called.
Oh, that sounds super familiar. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, where I guess like they wanted to take out all of the likes or something about being more authentic and genuine, but it only lasted like a week. So I feel
Yeah.
like everyone's trying to create the next like big social media app.
Mhm.
Um but I mean with TikTok, I don't know what's different about it. But I do think it's going to last, honestly.
Yeah, me too. I think just because their user base is so big, like,
Yeah.
it's already almost established. There is a small social media app that is like claiming itself to be Vine too. Like that's literally how they're promoting it, and it's called Byte. I don't know if you've seen
Oh,
that,
no,
and it's
yeah.
literally
I've heard about
just
that.
Vine. What do you think?
Uh I mean, so I haven't used it. I like downloaded it when it first came out,
Yeah,
and it still seems like it's in the beta stage. Like they're
yeah,
adding new features to it every single day. Um I think I checked it like last week or something and I was like, "Oh, they have their own like for you page. It's called Your Mix or something."
mm,
I don't know if it would last just because like it's so similar to what's already on TikTok.
yeah. It's. I think it. I think their mistake is making it the exact same as Vine.
Yeah.
Like if you're not going to stand out in any way, it's going to be hard to like differentiate yourself.
Yeah. And like the reason why I think TikTok is doing so well too is because you literally don't need a computer at this point. Like all of the
Yeah,
effects are on the app. I feel like TikTok is one of the only platforms where people will actually use the TikTok camera to record stuff. Like I don't
yeah,
people don't take pictures directly using the Instagram camera.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
And throw on one of their preset filters. Oh,
Yeah, like people don't do that, but on TikTok like a lot of kids are doing that. And I think the thing with Bite is that it's I think it's too simple.
mm, yeah, I agree with that. You can't really even do anything that cool transition wise or
Yeah,
like
like
editing wise. It's
yeah. A lot of it,
record stop, record stop.
yeah, like you really just have to be funny. Like if you're not funny on Bite, it's going to be really hard for you to take off. Versus like with
Yeah,
TikTok, you can be funny and like obviously that's going to go viral, but there's so many different niches and avenues where, you don't have to be funny. You could educate people. You can, those POVs, which I really like watching.
really?
Those I mean like there's some people that are like super dramatic with the POVs. It's
Yeah,
weird.
yeah, yeah.
And
Oh,
like
some of them suck you in. They do.
yeah. But yeah, there's so many different niches on TikTok and I think that's why it's doing well too. With Bite, it's kind of like you got to be funny and you only
Mm-hmm.
have like a short amount of time to do it. Other than that, I don't
You
know.
got nothing. Yeah. Yeah, those. I think that's a great point. Like, I think that's actually when a platform has established itself. Once there are niches, like
Yeah.
somebody that can like be goofy and just throw up like facts about real estate and like own the real estate niche. I'm like, there you go. There's a whole real estate niche right there. There's a whole cooking niche. Dogs. Shoot, I can find anything on there now.
Yeah. Which I think it's kind of funny because isn't Bite structured that way? Like they have categories.
Yeah, but everybody on Vine was just trying to be funny. So I think everybody
Yeah.
on
So
Byte is gonna just try to
it's
be
trying to
funny.
be funny. Yeah. And I'm like, man, that I mean, I again like I haven't explored it enough to form like a solid opinion on it, but from what I've like tested and seen, like it just seems like TikTok and like
Yeah,
Vine.
yeah, but like a lesser of both. Not to
Yeah.
be mean, not to be mean. Just not saying we're
Just
not
I
rooting for you,
mean,
Byte.
yeah. Like I want competition. Competition is good.
Yeah, yeah.
But like as of now, like it seems way too simple.
Mm. You know what? Do you think I've been curious about this because I think like the organic growth with posts on TikTok, like in the beginning, like we were saying, of like virality was almost guaranteed if you had like a decent enough idea. How
Yeah.
much longer do you think that's gonna last, or do you think it's already gone?
I think it's already gone kind of.
Ooh,
Yeah. Which I mean like it was gonna happen at some point.
yeah.
Um but yeah, I think the organic reach is still there,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not like where it was, let's say like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So like I mean all that means is like you have to just put in a little bit more effort into what you're making, which,
Mm-hmm.
that's without any platform. You gotta put in a little bit more effort. But yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely think that era is over.
Rip. What
Yeah.
does that mean for people that want to actually make meaningful content? They're back. They're back into the
Oh
grind mode
man.
again.
Yeah, kind of. I mean that it's like a blessing and a curse, right? The creative process. It's like sometimes, you could go along with the wave and like you're going along with, the upswing, but like as
Mm-hmm.
soon as something changes, you just have to adapt and adjust. And I feel like that's kind of where I'm at right now with TikTok and like Instagram and all my social media really is like pivoting.
Really?
Yeah.
How, what way? Because I did. You did mention in one of your captions that I think is so interesting. Is like there's a difference between like being repetitive and predictable and having your style. Is that
Mhm.
why you're switching, or?
Yeah, it's about finding that balance cuz like I think if you have a particular style,
Mm-hmm.
I think you can still post like for instance with me with Photoshop editing, like I have my my style of not having people's faces in my edits.
I
um
love it so much.
there's things I want to do with that later this year hopefully that I don't know, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so there's that particular style, but like at some point I just get bored with I guess like my process of how I go about making those edits or like I can tell when I have, it feels like an assembly line, I guess. And it's no longer
Yeah.
fun or like different. And so I feel like you can still have your particular style, but just switch it up enough to where your audience or whoever you're talking to, like, it's not something that they have seen before from you, but it's still with your particular style of editing. So it's a fine line.
That's tough though,
It
because
is.
people are coming to your like account or to your content to see those things that you post, and then you have to keep it fresh, but you can't change it too much or else they might be like, this is what wasn't what I signed up for. But
Yeah.
I think the other side is like you can't be trapped by what your audience is wanting, it's also your creations.
Yeah. And I mean, like, at the end of the day, like, this is why I love branding so much, is because, like, if someone follows you because of, your videos or your photos or whatever you're doing, and
Hmm.
then they end up liking you as a person, that's what's going to allow you to pivot to whatever it is you want to do. And, like, I'm not saying, be fake and get
Yeah.
everyone to like you, but it's one of those things where you realize, like, at some point people are going to like you because of you, and then there are people that are going to like you just because of your work. And
Mm,
I feel like as a creator, the only way for us to survive creatively is if we do what we want creatively. Obviously we
yeah.
have to cater to our audience, but, like, at the end of the day, we're the ones that are making stuff.
Hmm.
So we need to be happy about that. And, when we do pivot, like, we're going to see people unfollow us. We're going to see people, look away because it's not what they signed up for.
Right.
But yeah, the goal is to, I guess, to get people to like you for you and not just your products.
Yeah, and I think I've like I've seen that in the YouTube space of people go onto YouTube for the relationship aspect
Hmm.
between watching people's videos and the creator. Because a lot of times now, like, I think exactly what you're saying. I don't really even know what PewDiePie is talking about most of the time, but I watch his videos because I think, like, he's just like a funny, you know, just all
Yeah.
goes all in type of guy. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's so true. Jeez. That's
Because, like,
wild.
that's how you get, like, who's a really good example of someone who pivoted? I Justine, right? Like, well, she still kind of does like tech things, but, like, there are times where she just did random cooking videos just because, and, like, people
Uh-huh.
would still watch that because they like her, not
Yeah.
just the thing that she's producing.
Yeah. And I think
Or
now more than ever, it's like they want to see the person that you like try new things. Like that's so big right
exactly,
now. And that's got,
exactly.
because it's like, I guess maybe it's because of the reaction stuff now, but it's like, I wonder what this person's reaction if they were in that situation. I would love to have seen that. You know what I mean?
Also, like, I mean, at the end of the day, I think I said this like at a workshop or something, but, like, at the end of the day, social media is meant to be social. And
Yeah.
so I think the thing that matters the most is that relationship. Like,
Mm,
there's no point in having millions of followers if, you're not going to cater to that relationship and you're not going to, build a relationship with them.
yeah. That's so true. And I think that's why, like in my realm of just like, for example, just the podcast, I think I'm podcast or the videos that I watch, if I get 50 views, I always imagine if there's 50 people in the room and I was talking directly to them.
Yeah.
Like I think the message that you portray through all of your content, whether you think 10 people are going to see it or 100 or 1,000 or a million, like you better be consistent with what you're saying because
Mm-hmm.
that relationship is real, whether you're actually seeing the person on the other side of that phone. Like, I think influencer, that word is so true. You're influencing people, and you better know what you're influencing them to do or to say or to be, because likely they're literally going to follow you subconsciously or consciously. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, like,
Ugh.
I think I think people forget that. And, maybe tying this back to TikTok, like, maybe that's a reason why, people are kind of forgetting, like, you're not just building an audience to build an audience. Like, what's your message? Like, what's the whole point of this? What's your game plan?
Yeah.
And, with TikTok, like, that's the thing people are concerned about, is like, oh, people are just trying to get famous just to be famous. And sure, there are people like that, but that's always been a thing before social media even existed. So it's
Mm,
not like it's anything new.
yeah. People are playing the game for their own
Yeah.
self satisfaction or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Um, so how do you envision? You know what? I think you actually do a really good job of this because I always see you interacting with your audience. But something that you do that I find interesting is how you open discussion, like how you open a conversation. Like I see you ask
Yeah.
questions and things like that, but you always say, I'm gonna try to make this sound like slide in my DMs, but like you always say, like if there's something on your mind from this post, like hit me in the DMs, like have a real
Yeah.
conversation with me. I think that's
Yeah.
super important.
And
What?
it's I've just seen so many people, I guess, like take their audience for granted. And like I'm
Mm,
truly trying to, interact with everyone. And like, there are people who don't care about any of that. Like they just want to see the Photoshop edits, they just want to see tutorials, that's it. But like a lot
yeah,
of people, especially like in my stories, I'll just, mention random stuff and just be like, hey, like, if you want to talk about something, like my DMs are always open. Like you can talk to me about, if you have questions about editing or if you, have questions about life. I don't know.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
just because I feel like that's the type of person I am in real life. And so I
Mm,
just kind of want to also be that type of person online. And I think that's super important. Like I get that we have like our private life and like our online personality persona, but with me, like I just like being myself.
yeah.
That's
Is that
really it.
hard though?
Um, Honestly, for me, not really. Like, I know people have a hard time, especially like being in front of a camera, which I have so many YouTube videos on private
Oh, same.
of me just, yeah, years just all backed up on private.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And we're not going to dive into that. But I don't know, like I feel like sometimes it's harder to be someone that you're not, because then you have to constantly like put on that face.
Yeah.
And so with me, like if I'm having a really, can I curse on here? Does that
I
matter?
I I dare you.
Okay. Well, like if I'm if I'm having a really like shitty day, like you know, I'm not going to put on a face. Like it's something that's on my mind,
Yeah.
and I'm just going to try to be myself as much as possible. Um yeah, because like let's say if someone does meet me in person, I don't want them to think that I'm something that I'm not. um
Yeah.
so that's super important for me, and it's actually a lot easier for me to do that than I realized.
To just own it. Own
Yeah,
where you're at.
I need to feel my feelings.
Hey, I'll tell you that's hard. Right there. That's hard.
Yeah. I think like I was a scene kid in high school, so I just have no problem feeling my feelings. I was very emo, listened to a lot of like emo music. No
Hit me
problem
with that
feeling my
emo
feelings.
band.
Oh man. And so I think the biggest pressure, which I mean, it doesn't really matter, but like the biggest pressure is like maintaining that growth and like constantly trying to grow my audience even more, which is kind of sad because like I feel like, as creators, like one of our goals is to make a living off of, what we're doing. And a big part
Yeah.
of that is social media.
Hmm.
And I know for me, like one of my goals was just to hit 10,000. Like I didn't care after I hit 10,000.
Yeah.
Um but
But
like
now,
now it's kind of sad cuz I'm like, okay, I'm at 20,000. Now I want to grow even more and even more, and
yeah.
it's like it's finding that balance between being satisfied with what you have but also trying to improve and trying to grow your audience even more. And so like that's been the biggest pressure for me right now, is like to keep posting in order to continue to grow my audience, in order to, have bigger opportunities with brands and companies and whatnot. Um, yeah, it's a battle, but
Yeah.
got to work through it.
And so did you always have this long-term vision in mind that the end goal was like working with brands and like being strategizing with the brand? Because the reason I asked is because you've been like daily posting for a long time, and like
Yeah.
that is not easy at all.
It
You
isn't.
know, that's a lot of time, a lot of effort, and so much creativity with, especially with what you're doing, like unique designs and edits every day.
Yeah.
Did you have this in the back of your mind that this is where you wanted to take it, or has it just
Mm,
been kind of a natural path?
I mean, honestly, like the goal for me is to eventually transition out of it. Just
Mm.
because I can't see myself doing Photoshop stuff forever.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I don't really want to do tutorials.
Yeah.
Is because like I don't want to be known as like the Photoshop person.
Yeah.
Um, but that's what I was saying earlier was that like you kind of if you can build an audience that likes your personality, you can pivot to whatever you want. Um, in terms of like working with brands, that is a goal of mine
Hmm.
is to work with more brands and companies, do like sponsorships, whatnot. I'm actually, I think I could say this. It's fine. I'm doing. It's not. It's not a sponsorship, but I'm doing freelancing for story blocks.
Story blocks. Hit
Yeah.
me.
Um.
Who and
So
what?
so story blocks, if you don't know, they are a stock footage website. So they have like stock video. I think they have royalty free music and stock photos. And
Hmm.
so what I'm doing, it's not a sponsorship. Like they're not sponsoring a video or a Photoshop edit. I'm basically going to be creating personality driven content for their platforms. So
Oh,
yeah, it's a different approach, but like I actually kind of like that.
which part of it? Which part do you like?
I something that I've noticed with companies is that a lot of them, I think we were talking about this earlier about how like people, they like personalities, they connect with personalities. And a
Yeah.
lot of companies don't have that. Like they don't have, I guess, like a spokesperson, if that's how you want to
Like
put it.
a face
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
Unless you're
And I
Papa
think,
John.
yeah. But I think like something like that can be really beneficial for a lot of companies. And so I like cold DM, like just Instagram DM story blocks.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, yo, I noticed that you guys aren't using IGTV, blah, blah, blah. And like they gave me their email to their marketing director. And like, yeah, that ended up happening, which is weird, but also
Heck
pretty
yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Do you cold message often?
I used to. I started again recently just because of the fact that I noticed that a lot of companies don't have like they either focus on just their product or just their service, but people are the ones that are interacting with it. So you got to have a face on it. So I've been
Yeah.
DMing a lot of other companies recently.
Nice. What's your tactic with your cold message? Because I cold message all the time.
Yeah.
So if you got a successful ingredient or recipe, I want to know.
Oh man. I mean, I hate when people say you have to provide value because that is so vague.
Oh, are
It's
you
the most
Gary V?
it's the most vague thing, but like it's true. You have to provide value in some way. I'll give you specifics
Hmm. Yeah,
so
hit
you're
me.
not left hanging. Um a lot of the content that's on social media is either entertaining, it's educational, or it's motivational in some way.
Yeah.
And so what I usually do when I go and I DM companies is I'll figure out like, okay, what are they missing? I usually DM on Instagram. And the first things I kind of notice is like, okay, are they using IGTV? If not, that's what I start out with right away because that's how I grew my account. So I can kind of use my following as leverage.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Smart.
so I'll notice like, okay, do they use IGTV? Are they even posting videos? Because some companies don't even post videos, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
Um, so just like finding a way to where like it's actually beneficial because I feel like a lot of people will just DM companies and say like, "Hey, I want to work with you." And that's it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like you have to find a way to where it's not about you. You have to frame it in a way to where it's about the company and it's about them. And if you do that, like I think you'll have really good chances.
I get a lot of I feel like I get a lot of responses with things, but I get a lot of no's. which I
Yeah.
will take
Whew.
as progress, though. You know what I
No,
mean?
I
Like, I'd
mean,
rather,
yeah. A no is better than no response at all. I'll tell you that.
yeah. And I'm trying to think, like, so I think I'll message people for like websites and stuff if I see if they
Mhm.
don't have one. And I think mine is usually trying to say along the lines of like, you can I'll use like a statistic typically for my cold messages. Like 90% of people will Google the local business they want to go to
Mhm.
before they go to it. Like they'll check out their website before they go, and that's a true stat. And
Yeah.
people tend to be like, "Oh, really? Oh, maybe I do need one of these." But I think you're dead on if you're not providing value. Do
Yeah.
you ever go with the compelling question?
What do you mean?
Like I've heard there's the strategy of like do research and just ask them like the most thought-provoking question that they cannot resist but to answer.
I've never heard, huh? Like a random question?
Like like if somebody published like some article about how frogs are causing warts among people, you'd ask like, does this bullfrog affect these people in this region or something,
What?
just like just to get a reply from them.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh
know.
man. No, I've
That's
never thought about doing that, but that's hilarious. I feel like I'm gonna start.
just play with it a little bit. You can always unsend if they never read it.
I True. I mean, honestly, like I'm okay with being left on red. That's fine.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah,
feel
me
like
too.
I've sent so many DMs, or like I've started projects with companies and then like they ended up just not responding at some point,
Oh, I
or
hate
like
that. Yeah.
it's the worst. Or like I think there was this one time I DM'd like a shoe company
Mhm.
and I like pitched them like my Photoshop stuff and they're like, "Okay, like we'll email you um some product photos, like let's see what you can do with it." And this was at the
Yeah.
time where I was doing stuff for free. So I was like, "Okay, like
Yeah, yeah.
I'll make some things." Um Sent it to them. I think I spent hours on like two edits maybe. And then they just never responded. I was like, "Okay,
Oh my
it's all good.
gosh.
All good.
Ugh.
Rejection is just a part of the process."
Especially in the creative field. I hate how like the starting point in the creative field is doing work for free. Oh, it drives
Yeah.
me nuts.
It
Drives me crazy cuz they don't trust anybody creative. I shouldn't say they. A lot of times companies don't want to trust somebody creative cuz they're
Mhm.
like scared, cuz
Mhm.
it's like not the standard way of doing things. It's
Yeah.
ugh.
I also feel like it's kind of a two-way street because I feel like, and I think I might be making a video on this soon, I don't know.
Okay.
But I feel like business people see creators as like, oh, like they automatically think cheap
Yep.
labor,
Yep.
work for free. But then at the same time, what I've noticed the past few weeks just talking to people is that a lot of creators don't know how to price themselves.
Mm. I think that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah. Yeah, and that kind of determines like I think that determines your professional ability. I don't know if that's a real word, but like how professional you are. Like if you
Yeah.
can't say like I got a package of these three things, choose which one you like. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
And
I agree
so
with that.
yeah, I feel like that's probably, yeah, in part it's our fault cuz we don't know how to price ourselves, but like also I feel like as a business person, you can tell if someone is lowballing themselves. Because, for
Hmm.
instance, when I when I first started working with this company that I'm working with right now, like when they first interviewed me and asked me like what my rate was, I like lowballed myself. Like I think I told them
Dang.
something below minimum wage. It was bad because
Wow.
I just didn't know how to price myself, and like thankfully they at least gave me minimum wage. But like looking back at it, I was like, I should have probably charged more than minimum.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I didn't
But
know what I
you
was
didn't want to
worth.
risk it, right? You also
Yeah.
didn't want to risk losing that opportunity. And that's like the other thing about being creative, like in the creative field is like, oh, this is a great project. I don't want to lose it. I
Mm-hmm.
should lowball it so I get to do it.
Mm-hmm. It's all about
Yes.
working smarter though. Like I think at some point you're gonna reach a point where, you're doing minimum wage for like 50 other people and you're gonna get tired.
Yeah.
You're gonna be exhausted because you're working too much. And I think like making that switch from like raising your prices, knowing your worth, and having less clientele, like that's probably the hardest thing to do because you think like, okay, I don't have any as many clients, I'm not going to get paid as much. But you're supposed to raise your prices when you do that. So that way everything balances out. It's not about having the most amount of clients, it's about making what you want to make and not going crazy.
Yeah, not working yourself to death.
Yeah.
Okay, there is another thing I want to ask you about.
Yes.
And actually, a couple of things I want to ask you about. But the first thing I want to ask you about is self-critique. Because it seems like you and I are similar in the sense of like very critical of our own work, and I want to know what your relationship is with self-critique right now.
Oh man. I think it depends on what creative thing I'm doing. So like actually no. I think for the most part I am self-critical, but I'm very aware of like where I am in terms of my skill set. So I know that I'm not the best, but I know that I'm not the worst.
Right.
I think a lot of people at my job right now, like they tend to hype me up a lot. And I just like I sit back and I'm like, no, 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 I'm not the best. Like I'm not kidding you. Their title for me is Video God.
Wow,
Yeah. And I
that
was
is a
like,
strong title.
yeah. I was like, okay, I don't know about that. But, you know, I understand that I'm good at like editing and I understand the creative process, but I'm not gonna sit here and think that I'm the best.
Right.
But before, like I was just so hard on myself creatively. I used to think that everything I made was terrible and like, nothing I made was good. But like at some point, probably within this past year, I kind of started to realize like, no, like I have skills. There's
Mm-hmm.
a reason why, people hire me for work. There's a reason why I am creating. Obviously not the best, like compared to, an Oscar nominee, what I make
Mm-hmm.
probably looks terrible. But like to someone who's just starting, like they haven't even begin to make Photoshop edits or videos, like they probably think my work's amazing. So it's all about putting yourself into that perspective of like there are two opposite ends of the spectrum. You're somewhere in the middle most likely.
Yeah, that's a fair way to look at it.
That's really what it is.
I think, you know, I think I've come to a different place because I think I used to be so. I mean, I still am to a degree so critical on my stuff that I make, like my edits, the videos, anything that I created. You're almost like I never want to look at it again. You know,
Yeah.
like once it's out there, I'm like I'm never watching this back because I don't want to see how bad it is later.
Yeah.
And to some degree, that's true. But I'm also kind of realizing at this point that like not everybody's gonna root for you, so you better
Mm-hmm.
start rooting for yourself. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
you can't be fighting against yourself if it's your own work. Like I at least one person should like your stuff, and for the love of goodness, I hope it's you. You know,
Yeah.
like I hope I can appreciate my own stuff.
Yeah.
It's
And
been
honestly, I agree. I agree. I probably should, say that I'm also like that to an extent. It's one of those things where like I'm proud of what I put out. I
mm-hmm.
know that it could be better,
Yep.
but it's not bad. I like it. Like I think
Yeah.
that's kind of what I where I pivoted my YouTube channel to too. Is like instead of posting stuff every single week, like I want to try to make these to the point where I enjoy watching it over and over again. Like it
Yeah.
could always be better, but
Mm.
I'm kind of glad that I pivoted to that.
Yeah. Cause oh man, perfection is probably somewhere near self destruction. I feel like.
Oh, no, it is. It is. I feel like there's that fine line again of like, this is good enough to release. I'm happy with it. It's not perfect, but like nothing is going to be perfect. If you're trying to
Yeah.
make something perfect, you're never going to release anything in your life.
Oh yeah. You're gonna be, and then you probably won't get that good because you're never putting
Yeah,
stuff out.
because you're not practicing. And I think
Yeah.
that's the whole thing too is like you have to realize like at some point you got to release it, move on to the next thing so that you can practice and you could get better.
Yeah. Definitely.
Hmm.
Um. Okay. Then, I once heard a musician say that like music is almost and songwriting is almost like comparing your journal to somebody else's journal. Like it's in the lows that are mainly being expressed in those types of songs, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you hardly hear like great songs that are about like this happy, like joyous state.
Yeah.
And you've talked about a lot of your creativity stemming from really dark times. And you've also talked about like creative ruts.
Yeah.
Do you think creative ruts are often happening when you're happy? And have you found like a strategy to get out of there?
I think, at least like for me, whenever I'm like in a creative rut or I have a creative block, is because I'm trying to be perfect.
Mm,
Or I'm like, yeah, I think that's where it stems from, at least for me. And like my way of going about getting out of it is to just purposely make something really bad.
really?
Yeah, because like we have certain expectations for ourselves, and I feel like when we're in a creative block, like we're not meeting those expectations that we have. So if we kind of just let go of all expectations, make something really shitty and then move on, it's
Yeah.
so relieving
Yeah.
because there's no expectations at that point. You can make whatever you want. And we get
Yeah.
so in our heads whenever we're like in a rut or whenever we just don't know what to create. We're just in our heads most of the time.
Yeah. That's true. Man, I
Mm-hmm.
think my strategy for like getting out of creative ruts, I don't know if this is 100%. I don't know. This isn't like my go-to strategy, but I think a lot of times I need to do something that's like mind numbing, like physical activity. Like I need to
Mm-hmm.
like get in the ocean, so I have to focus on being inside of an ocean
Yeah.
or or something where I cannot think about whatever it is that I'm like so desperate to solve or whatever it is. You know
Yeah.
what I
Because
mean?
then, yeah, I feel like we just need to get out of our heads because
Yeah.
we go through this cycle of like just thinking and overthinking if our work's going to be good enough, will it do well, and it's like at some point you need to just step away from the computer or whatever it is that you create with and just do something completely different from what you usually do.
Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Mm. Yeah. You really have to. Um, I'm going to introduce you to a new section of the podcast if you're ready
Ooh,
for it.
I am ready.
This is the first time this section has ever appeared on the pod, but
Ooh,
we're going to do it. We're going to do
I'm
it big.
excited.
All right. It's called Idea Add On.
Ooh, okay. I feel the
And
pressure already.
yeah. So I'm going to give you an idea that I have written down either in my notes or just like randomly, like one of those
Hmm.
ideas that I don't remember writing this idea down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then our goal together collectively is to figure out how we can add on to it to make it better.
Okay.
So, the idea is people that smoke shouldn't throw away their cigarette cartons. They should fill them up with candy and use them to sneak food into the movies. How can we make that better?
Dang, that's actually that makes sense. How do you make it better?
Yeah.
Don't
Or
smoke, kids. I don't know.
there you go.
Hmm. No, I feel like it could be even better than that.
There's got to be Um how do non-smokers go about this?
Oh man, just carry around a deck of cards. No, I feel like people do that. They'll carry around just like a random deck of cards, and I'm like, for what? And then they just start showing people card tricks, or like like how those people, how they do like random card tricks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's
Honestly,
so
carrying a deck of cards on you at all times is a good way to like pass the time. If you ever get stuck waiting somewhere, everyone's like waiting, and you're the
true.
hero. You are
Play
the
some
hero.
solitaire, some goldfish,
I
go
think
fish.
I think that's a good add-on. Start bringing a deck of cards everywhere you go, so you can always be the hero.
Yes.
It's like you're the person with catchphrase on your phone. You know what I mean?
Oh man, that always comes in handy.
That's true.
especially like if you're in like a hotel, or not hotel, an Airbnb with like friends. I think that's what we did during Vid Summit. It was like me and like a bunch of other like creators. We were all in an Airbnb together, and we just pulled out our phones and started playing what's it's like Mafia, but not Mafia.
Oh, oh. I feel like I know. I feel like I know what you're talking about. What is that game?
I don't know. It's like, oh man, I don't remember the name. Like you
Yeah.
have to, everybody has like a role, and you have to guess like who's lying or something.
Oh my gosh! And there's pictures on the cards, right? You're
Yeah,
talking
or
about a
no,
card game?
this was on our
Oh, it's on
phone,
like
but I
phone.
think there is a card version.
It was like yeah, it's like ugh. Oh man, we're gonna fact check that one
I
after.
know, but yeah, like whoever has like heads up on their phone, lifesaver,
Oh
lifesaver.
yeah, every time, guaranteed.
hmm
All right, here you go. I got another question for you.
Okay.
So you're in the creative community. You're all up in
hmm
the creator community.
hmm
What would you change about the creator community today?
Ooh. Hmm. What would I change? That is actually really hard. I feel like I really do want more creators to understand the business side of things. Cause like coming from someone who like I'm still learning about like the business side of things and like how to market myself, but I feel like that's the one thing where a lot of creators are lacking. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of us, need freelancing work, and a lot of us, don't, like, we have to have full-time jobs outside of what we're doing, is because we don't know how to start our own business, and we don't know how to market ourselves as a creator. That's one thing I'd want to change, is to just educate people, educate
Yeah.
creators on the business side of, being a freelancer, running a creative business. What else? Also focusing on smaller creators,
Mm.
because like that stigma of like, oh, we're not going to collaborate if you have less than X
Oh,
amount of followers. That's the
yeah.
most annoying thing,
Just the
and
worst.
it's the worst. And I that's something that I want to change, is like, it doesn't matter how many followers you have, like if your stuff's good, your stuff's good.
Yep.
And I think that there are a lot of small creators out there that, are doing really well. Like their
Hmm.
stuff's really good, like whether it's a video or photo, like, their stuff's really good. It's just, yeah, figuring out how to market themselves, and figuring out, how to position themselves within the creator community.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Honestly, I have been creating things for a while, and I think I'm just like it finally has clicked on
Mm-hmm.
the business side of things. Like I think where you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about branding is did not even realize how wildly important that is.
Mm-hmm.
Like brand is so much about what people trust, and
Yeah.
if you don't have a strong established brand, likely is chances are they won't trust you, whoever your audience is. And
Yeah.
then yeah, I also agree with you about the small creators, cuz it's I does your heart go out to small creators or what? Like you see somebody great at something and you're like, why
And
can't you?
right, and it's like you don't want to collaborate with them just because they have a that makes my heart hurt, because there's so
Yeah.
many good like people out there that are making, like, who's like a really good, I think like one of, I'm gonna shout out Audrey
Oh,
Ember.
yeah,
Dude,
she's great.
her and like Alex Gasaway, like the stuff that they make's really good, and I wish like
Yeah.
more people saw it.
Yeah. Part of me thinks that sometimes small creators that are great, like
Mm-hmm.
I don't worry about them too much because I know they'll grow.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some that like you just get scared of the what if they don't, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's the
and
scary part.
and I think that's like where the business side of things kind of comes into play, because like Roberta Blake talks about this a lot, about um just marketing yourself, because like you can make award-winning films or photos or whatever. But if you don't know how to use social media to your advantage, like nobody's going to see it. And I think like it's finding that balance between what do you call it? Finding that balance between creating something that you want to make and make something artsy, but also like making something that people would actually want to consume, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's like you still have to have an audience.
Yeah, like
You can't be doing stuff that nobody wants to watch.
yeah,
Or
and it's like you know what you can create for yourself, which is awesome. That's great. I create stuff for myself all the time, but like
yeah,
if your goal is to make a living off of it, like you got to make something that people would want to see, and it's finding that balance between making something people want to see, but also making something that you want to see, and
yeah,
that's a struggle.
yeah. That's always going to be
Yeah.
the fight for creators, I think.
Hmm.
Or you say screw it, just only do what you want until somebody shows up.
Yeah, which I mean, like for some people that works. Like I jealous.
Oh yeah, same.
Super jealous for the people that they could just make what they want and it just automatically works. Um,
Yeah,
but I mean, that's as creators, especially like with smaller creators, you can't rely on just creating everything that you want to make. Like at some point, you gotta play to the algorithm, and you gotta
yeah,
do all of those like strategies and stuff, which can be kind of boring at times, but it is a part of running a business.
yeah. And I'll be the first to say I'm the worst at that. Like
Yeah.
I think I'm the worst at it because I'm so anti-authority. Like I'll be like, I'm not following the rules of these trends and algorithms. Forget that. But it always
Oh
bites me in the
man.
butt.
But like okay, the thing is though is that people don't realize that the algorithm is literally what you make of it. So like
Mm.
the explore page on Instagram, for instance, on TikTok, like the For You page, your home screen on YouTube, that's all specifically catered to you. So
Oh
like
yeah.
if you I don't know if you noticed, but like if you follow someone new on Instagram, your home feed instantly is just a bunch of their stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, it's we have to realize that the algorithm isn't out to get us. We just have to, and this is why I like branding so much, is like you're literally just trying to understand your audience. What does my audience like? How do I build a stronger relationship with them? And then how do I make my, edits or my photos or whatever? How do I make it so that it can reach them and so that it's something that they actually do want to see? Because, it's again, social media is meant to be social.
Yeah. And I'm trying to see only stuff I want to see, you know? That's why I'm
Yeah.
liking pictures of dogs. I'm
Yeah.
trying to see
Oh
pictures
man.
of dogs.
there's this account on Instagram called like I think it's called like filmup.co or something. And it's just a bunch of random behind the scenes stuff of like commercials, or not commercials, but just like behind the scene videos of like how a video was made. And it's the greatest thing ever. I feel like you should watch it.
I will. Tag me in those.
I will. They're great. They're insane. And like that's kind of how I learned too.
Oh,
Like
really?
I single platform.
I think I agree with that because it for me I have to like diversify my interests. So
Yeah.
like the conversations that I get stir up on the pod are not this doing meme reviews that I do on the tube where I'm making fun of memes, you know.
Yeah.
It's complete contrast. But I I think it's probably you seem the same way of like you have so much creativity and so many thoughts in your head. It's like getting those interests out in different ways is important for our own sanity too.
No, honestly though. And like it's also just fun. Like I feel
True.
like if you're a creator, you like doing more than just one creative thing. Like I've met so many creators who like, they obviously video and photo kind of go hand in hand, but like sometimes they do music or sometimes they like to paint or like they like
Yeah.
interior design. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
there's just different creative avenues that I feel like we all like to explore.
Yeah. And that's all we're doing anyway. That's what creating stuff is we're just exploring new ways to do things and putting them out there.
True though, yeah.
All right. So speaking of narrative and the
Yes.
tube, how
Yes.
have you seen your storytelling skills grow in the last few years?
Ooh. Hmm. I think a few years ago, I was kind of doing that thing of like, oh, I only want to make content for me. I think my opinion's super important on stuff, so I'm just going to make videos on my opinion on things. Versus
Yeah.
like now, it's still kind of the same thing, but like I framed it in a way to where I actually had an audience or a person that I was speaking to. Because before
Mm.
I was just kind of talking to talk. Like I didn't
Yeah.
really have any sort of particular audience or person in mind.
Yeah.
Versus now, like I know who I'm trying to talk to. I know who my audience is. I know the things that the pain points that they have, and like the questions that they have, and so I can answer it with the videos that I have. But still, making it in a way to where I still like how it turns out.
So do you think storytelling starts with the audience?
I think it starts. How do I do my videos? I feel like it starts with the audience, but also like with, I guess, yeah, with the audience, because the message that you have when it comes to your story, that's going to be a message that you want to tell someone.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
if you just have a random message and you don't know who you're speaking to, like what is your message really?
Yeah. Where's it going? Where's that message
Yeah,
going?
like it's you're just talking to air. Like
Yeah. 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 That's true. That's that's true. Storytelling to me is ah I think it's overrated and underrated at the same time. I think everybody
yeah.
like every filmmaker or video creator says how important story is, but I think that it's under executed in a way. Like I think story
Mhm.
is meant the reason you tell a story is because it's memorable and it gets to a point, right? I mean, outside of
Yeah.
entertaining things, but like there's always a point to the story. And that's the reason we watch stories is because we're like, oh, we're engaged with this and I want to know what the heck the point is.
Yeah.
And so my
And
point with that story is there's got to be a point with the story.
yeah. And I mean like again, like that goes back to me before. I would just kind of make videos to make videos, which it was fun. I loved doing that. But I think I really honed in on like my storytelling as a skill when I actually had a message.
mm, yeah. And almost like a brand.
Yeah.
When
I
you
mean,
almost knew.
that's honestly that's kind of why I like branding, cuz like if you think about it, everything that is related to your company, to your business, to your personal brand, that's your brand. So like certain colors that you use, fonts that you use, like types of music that you use, all of that's related to like your brand and your story. And so that's kind of, I guess, what I want to do eventually is show people that
Yeah.
like, all of these creative avenues or like creative aspects, they all tie into you as a brand or like your company as a brand. And that's what your audience is going to remember at the end of the day, is like all of
Yeah.
these little tiny things that they can connect back to you.
Yeah. That's kind of all we're really doing. Giving
Yeah.
a we're trying to get a little space in everybody's mind so they think about us, so they like the content we create, they find value in it. So I
Yeah.
agree. I'm right there with you.
Yep.
Nichelle, you
Yes.
have been the best. I think you're probably one of the easiest people to talk to on planet Earth. This has been wonderful.
That means so much, especially because like I'm introverted as fuck. So I'm not. I mean, like I'll just low key like. I think that I am an easy person to talk to because one of my best friends, she is my like the first conversation we ever had with each other, it was like a 3 hour long conversation of us like walking around the high school. Like that was our
Yeah.
first interaction with each other.
Man,
So I don't know what it is, but I guess I'm an easy person to talk to.
yeah, you must have a natural, I don't know, is it skill, talent,
I don't
natural
know.
way of being?
I
Your
guess way of
personality
being.
is, yeah, it's great. I
Thanks. I
love it.
appreciate that.
Are you ready for your final question? This is the question that dictates all
Ooh,
questions.
hold on. No.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, now I'm ready.
All right. If you had to tell all the creators out there one truth, one thing that you know to be true, could be about anything, absolutely anything, what would you say?
Ooh. That what you do has value. I feel like a lot of creators, we tend to, be self-critical, and we tend to sell ourselves short, especially, if you're trying to get into business, or you're trying to, even if you're making home videos for your family, or you're doing weddings. Like, I feel like as creators, we tend to sell ourselves short, but the one thing that we need to realize is what we do does have value, and what we do matters in the world. Because if there wasn't any sort of creativity, I feel like everybody would go insane.
Oh, yeah. Guaranteed.
Yeah. I feel like it was just like, especially like with everything that's going on now, I see a bunch of people post like, now more than anything, creators should keep creating, because it provides a sense of like normalcy with all of the
Mm,
chaos that's happening in the world. And that holds a lot of value. And we tend to beat ourselves up, and we tend to think that nobody cares about our work, but like, there is at least one person out there that cares about what you're doing. And like you said earlier, like, even if there isn't anybody, you better be caring about what you're
yeah,
doing.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I think providing a sense of escapism for people has its own value. Like making people
yeah.
laugh has its own value. So,
Yeah, and
100%
like,
agreed.
that's one of my favorite things, is like making people feel things. I think like I posted a video 2 weeks ago, and one of my friends, she commented on it, and she was like, "You're making me all emotional." And I was like, that
Oh,
means a lot.
beautiful.
I'm like,
Yeah.
that means a lot to me, because, nobody wants to live in a world where everybody's a gray blob,
Yeah.
like where everybody just, feels numb, or like, they just kind of go about their day not feeling anything. And what I like about being a creator is the fact that we have the power to make people feel things
Mm-hmm.
emotionally. And
Mm-hmm.
that holds a lot of value.
Oh, for sure. And
Hmm.
there's nothing better than that.
Yeah.
Knowing that you're something you're creating is resonating with somebody, like
Yeah.
especially on that level. Oof,
And like,
oof, that makes
especially
that makes it worth
like
it.
people you've never met too.
Oh,
Like, that's even crazier. Cause like, you can make something and your friends can relate, but like, if a complete stranger is like, yo, I connected with this, like, I relate to this, that's insane.
yeah.
Like,
It's beyond you now.
yeah, it's something bigger than yourself, which it holds a lot of value. And I think we as creators need to realize that.
Yeah, and we often don't. So I think that's a wonderful truth.
Hmm.
Nichelle, where can
Yes.
we find you on the internet?
Ooh. Everywhere Kioxon, Kioxon.
Mm-hmm.
um that's just a cooler way to spell my last name. On Instagram, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. What else am I on? I think I'm on Byte, but like,
Yeah.
don't really use that.
Pouring out for bite right now.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for being on the show, Nichelle.
Yeah, no worries.
Bye.
Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a blast. I
It
loved it.
was.
I
It
had such a
was.
good time.
Let's do this again.
All right, deal. You're welcome back on anytime.
Sick.
Okay, bye.
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 Stop this thing.
Bye.
I'm like, how do you stop this? I
No,
don't know.
I stop it.
Oh,
Bye.
okay.
Bye.